Okay, Mrs. Kegler, you're good.
Okay, so with that, I think we'll open up our work session for January 27th, 2021. And we're going to begin with with Dr. Jansen's presentation. Looking forward to this.
Go for it, Christy.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hello.
Sarah's going to pull it up for me and be the controls here. Okay. So I'm going to start by saying I take great pride in this work with our LGBTQ curriculum. There's no pun intended there, but we are really proud of the work that we are doing here. Sarah, you can go to the next slide. So the work that we've been doing with the LGBTQ statute has approximately taken about 2 years of work in the making. We were under the leadership of Dr. Shelley Zion and Dr. Dan Tolino from Rowan. And it's through our inclusive curriculum through multiple perspectives committee that we began this work and are beginning to implement it within our classrooms. So I'm really fortunate that we have members on the ICMP from all of our different schools. We also have 2 district members who represent all 3 schools. And the entire district administration has been a part of this planning process as well. Actually, we're even more fortunate because we have some members from our committee here today to share with us some of the work that they're doing and implementing with our classrooms. So today we have Ms. Hulk, Mrs. Moran, Mrs. Kelleher, and Ms. Kortonic kind of sharing in this presentation with me. You can go to the next slide, Sarah. So just to give you some of the history, January 31st of 2019, so 2 years ago, we got word of the statute that came out. In this statute through the state of New Jersey, there are 3 components that they are asking school districts to implement. The first component is that the Board of Education shall include instruction on the political, economic, and social contributions of persons with disabilities and lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people in an appropriate place in the curriculum in middle school and high school. In addition to that, they're also requiring that boards of education have policies and procedures in place in regards to these instructional materials and their selection. And finally, this has to be implemented during the school year of 2020-2021. Go to the next slide. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Moran to share with us some of the policies that we do have in place, because that is one component of the statute. So Heather, if you want to.
So there's 2 really important policies to think about. And the first one is when we think about instruction, the policies on instruction. I'm just going to read to you a short bit of that. The board directs the superintendent to allocate faculty, administrators, support staff members, curriculum materials, and instructional equipment supplies among and between the schools and classes of the district in a manner that ensures equivalency of educational opportunity throughout the district. The school district's curricula in the following areas will eliminate discrimination, promote mutual acceptance and respect among students, and enable students to interact effectively with others. And this is the part that's most important. Regardless of race, color, creed, religion, national origin, ancestry, age, marital status, affectional or sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, socioeconomic status, or disability. I think when you think about that statement in the equal educational opportunity, it really is talking about providing equal access for everybody. And the way to do that is to make sure that every student can see themselves in our curriculum. We've been working hard on that in terms of race and religion and creed and national origin. And now we're turning our attention to the LGBTQ community. And that leads into the policy on transgender students that I believe you will be adopting later on, and really outlines the fact that it is our duty to provide a safe, supportive, and inclusive learning environment for all students. And when we talk about all students, that includes the LGBTQ community. And students are thinking about, feeling about, and identify in this way at all ages. And we need to recognize that as the adults in their lives.
You can go to the next slide, Sarah. Thanks, Heather. One of the things that we are going to be sharing with you tonight are not only the curriculum that we've developed, but also some of the training that we're going to be doing with our staff, which is going to take place during our February in-service, and it will continue on, much like the equity training that we've been doing previously. So this is just a little activity. Jen, Mrs. Kelleher, are you on?
I am on, yes.
There you go. Okay, so she's going to run through this slide with you.
Sure. So we wanted to present the school board as well as the staff with this thinking challenge prior to beginning our training. And it's really to get into the mindset of the students that we want to really reach. So we want you to think about a time where you felt isolated, alone, or not seen or understood. Maybe you were in a meeting that had nothing to do with you. You are different from the rest of your family or friend group. Maybe you have a completely different opinion on something than everyone else. Maybe you felt like no one could possibly understand what you were going through, or maybe you were just in the wrong place. We want you to sit with these questions for a little bit to kind of get into that mindset of feeling excluded from a particular group. And if anyone would like to share, we'd be happy to. We plan on opening this up to the staff in groups of people that they are familiar with so that they would feel comfortable sharing, so they can really, I'm a big believer in, you see the questions, you say them out loud, and you have that time to share. It really resonates a little bit deeper with you. So if anyone would like to share. I can share something that when I read through these, that I thought about. I'm a daughter of an immigrant. My family comes from Ireland. And when we grew up, we had a lot of support financially. I headed to Head Start, and my dad was actually the janitor in my school when we first moved over. So at first, that was really, really great for my family. I thought that was really nice to have my dad in school. And then I started getting a little bit picked on for that. And it changed my mind frame about that. And I realized, that I felt a little bit ashamed about that situation. So I felt like kind of a little bit different than the rest of my friends. And their parents had, what I consider very professional jobs. So that's what this kind of resonated with me, that feeling of kind of feeling excluded from another group of people.
Thank you, Mrs. Kelleher, and thank you for sharing that story. So we do want to make sure that, we recognize the fact that there are children who are sitting in our classrooms who may feel this way. And it's our job, like Heather said and Mrs. Kelleher said, as the adults, to make sure that we are doing everything to make sure that every student in our school building feels accepted. I think we have Ms. Kortonic, who's going to share a little bit about some of the statistics taken from the Garden State Equality research.
Yes. Hi. So to Mrs. Kelleher's point about just making students feel included, it is important to remember that really is our goal in implementing this curriculum, is really to just ensure that while they're within the walls of our school, all of our students feel safe and accepted. And the fact is that LGBTQ plus students are disproportionately affected by or the victims of HIV situations. So these are some statistics from the Garden State Equality. So these are statewide statistics that found that these students do often face fear, harassment, and bullying at school simply because of who they are, which clearly is something that we are trying to avoid in part by instituting this curriculum. So in the Garden State Equality Study, they found that 59% of LGBTQ plus students said they felt unsafe at school, while just 42% felt unsafe simply because of their gender expression. Almost 69% experienced verbal harassment, and about a quarter were actually physically harassed. 11% were even physically assaulted, and about 45% experienced some form of electronic harassment or cyberbullying. And then 58.3% were even so far as sexually harassed. So these are pretty startling statistics that I think really help to reaffirm that purpose and that goal that we have, which is simply to ensure that all of our students feel safe and welcomed and accepted while they are in school. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. To that end, we also, of course, want to know how our students feel. So last year, the school climate team conducted a survey in which they found that 29% of our 7th and 8th graders believe that students in our school are teased because of their real or perceived sexual orientation. And clearly that number is significantly lower than the ones that we just looked at, the ones that we just heard, but we do still have some work to do. So we really wanted to hear from our kids, from our students in Logan, about how they feel about these issues. So I had the privilege and the honor of filling in the very large shoes of Deirdre Riley with the Prism Club this year, which is our Gay Straight Alliance at LMS. So members of the Prism Club are both students who are members of the LGBTQ community and also students who are allies, which simply means that they are friends and supporters of those who are members of the LGBTQ community. So they come to show their support and their solidarity for their peers and for their friends for whom these issues are more personal. So what I did was I went to the club at one of our meetings and talked to them a little bit about this curriculum, about our plans and what we were doing. And I asked if they would be willing to just discuss and contribute to that conversation and share how they felt about our school as a safe space. And these were some of the things that came up in our discussion. They did agree to do this. By the way, I feel like I do need to say that. I did ask if they would be willing to share anonymously their thoughts, and they 100% agreed. They were very excited that this was being done. So when asked to talk a little bit about their feelings about how they feel at school and whether or not our school is a safe space for them, these are some of the things that they had to say. So I just wanted to give everyone a minute or two here to just read down this list and just notice anything that sort of resonates with you.
Okay, I think everybody had a chance to read those. Ms. Kortonic, did you want to share anything else there?
No, as long as everyone just had a chance to sort of read those over, I think it helps to really help us to see how our students are feeling and why this is so important.
Yeah. The third bullet really resonated with me. I'm just going to read that out loud real quick. I've seen people going around saying that people that are cisgender or straight are the normal people. If we teach about LGBTQ people doing good things in the world, maybe people will learn tolerance. To me, that made me feel like that, you know, there are children in our school district who are feeling this way. So it kind of empowered us to work towards this goal of teaching about the contributions of LGBTQ people. So Sarah, you can go to the next slide. So we certainly can't say that these things are not happening in Logan. They certainly are. We have students who are, talking about these topics. So it's definitely something that's present in our school district, as it would be present in any school district. I want to share with you some results from the GLSEN 2019 National School Climate Survey. If you're not familiar with GLSEN, it's a national organization, stands for Gay, Lesbian, Straight Educational Network. So in 2019, they conducted a study with about 17,000 students in grades 6 through 12. About half of those students identified as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, and the other half identified as straight, cisgender individuals. This really helps in our understanding of the realities of LGBTQ youth, as well as how others who don't identify as LGBTQ perceive them. The goal of GLSEN, and I put this in here and I'm going to read it because I feel like it's such a powerful goal that we should have in a school district overall. Every child learns to respect and accept all people regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. To develop school climates where difference is valued for the positive contribution it makes to creating a more vibrant and diverse community. I feel like, we could put sexual orientation in there. We could put how students of color feel, how people are accepted regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of their socioeconomic status, and so forth. So to me, this is a really good goal and a good resource to be looking at. So Sarah, you can go to the next slide and I'll share with you some of the data that they found from their study. This first chart shows you the results that sorry, I always have need to look at it real fast just to make sure I know. Okay, so it's asking districts if they are asking the students if they are represented, if LGBTQ individuals are represented in the curriculum that they're taught. About 67% of school districts do not represent any LGBTQ individuals. When there is LGBTQ represented in the curriculum, about half of the time it's represented through a negative lens. So it's showing the LGBTQ community through a negative lens. You can go through to the next one. Here you can see the orange bar, which represents schools with an inclusive curriculum. The tan bar shows schools without an inclusive curriculum. So when you add an LGBTQ inclusive curriculum, you are decreasing the likelihood that students will be bullied or harassed because of sexual orientation or gender expression. You can go to the next slide, Sarah. Same thing here. The orange bar represents an LGBTQ inclusive curriculum. The tan bar does not. So students who are in districts that have inclusive curriculums feel safer in school and are also more likely to come to school with that curriculum. You can go to the next slide. This one shows that when schools have an inclusive curriculum, again, the orange bar, it increases the likelihood that the bystanders, so the allies, will stand up when they hear homophobic remarks or negative remarks about gender expression. So, an inclusive curriculum not only helps the students who feel part of that minoritized group, but it also helps the other students to be in support of the minoritized group. I'll go to the next slide. These next two slides just show the importance of having a policy. So by having policies within the district, which we are fortunate to have, we're decreasing the likelihood that students will face marginalization or victimization. And I think I have one more slide on that. And again, with a policy in the district, we are also empowering our staff to stand up against LGBTQ remarks and intervene in those ways. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the GLSEN study, I have a link on every slide there that you can just delve into some of that data even more. There's a wealth of data in there.
And Christy, we'll be posting this, right?
Yes.
So that board members are able to view this.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we obviously don't want any of our students to feel victimized or marginalized or not accepted. And one way we can do this is through an inclusive curriculum. And I think the data that you saw there really showed that. And by having a curriculum and these policies, students are less likely to hear homophobic remarks. They're less likely to feel unsafe due to their gender or gender expression. They're less likely to miss school. They are more likely to have higher GPAs, less likely to be disciplined, more likely to have higher self-esteem, and less likely to suffer depression. Go to the next slide. So I'm going to, in just 1 minute, turn this over to Ms. Hulk. But this is just kind of an example of another activity that we're going to be doing with our staff. You know, in every professional realm in education, we have always needed training. So, you know, when we were learning about dyslexia, we needed training in dyslexia. We need training in how to support our students receiving special education services. We need training on attention deficit disorders, training on students who are gifted, and so forth. And this is very similar. We need training on being able to understand the vocabulary that is connected with LGBTQ individuals. This does not roll off of our tongues. It certainly does not roll off of my tongue. I have to listen and really try to digest this and understand the vocabulary connected to it. So our staff in service on February 12th will be the time that we work to train our staff in the understanding of this vocabulary. So this is not something we will do with children, but we will do this with our staff. So Ms. Hulk, if you want to take on the next couple slides here.
Yep. Hi, everybody. So I'm just going to kind of explain, because I'm sure as we're going through, there might even be some people here that are seeing LGBTQ and then the plus sign and thinking, what is that pesky plus sign about? Or what is the Q stand for? What does the T stand for? And a lot of folks maybe just don't know. So it's going to be really important before we expect our teachers to teach these students. They have to know about these students and where they're coming from and just general knowledge. So we're going to use the gender unicorn, very cute unicorn. It was before this a genderbread person, but what it does is it breaks down a lot of different aspects here, because a lot of people don't know this, but gender identity is completely, totally different than attraction and sexual orientation. They're two totally separate things. So like, for example, and it might be hard to wrap your head around, but for example, biological sex is also different than gender. Biological sex is female, male, or intersex. People can be born intersex. But that's your biological sex, which is different than gender identity. People can be biologically female, but choose to identify as male or maybe identify as non-binary. And if you're hearing the word non-binary for the first time, it's folks that don't feel like they fit into either or gender identity. So there's so many different aspects here, and our kids are seeing these kinds of things. It's all over the place. It's all over media. But we have a lot of students that could identify here, so it's important to kind of understand that. And also gender expression is different than identity. So gender expression is just pretty much how you present yourself to the world. I know I wear lots of I'll wear a suit and stuff, and sometimes my little ones at Center Square will be kind of confused because I'm not a teacher that will wear dresses or stuff like that. So my gender expression is a little less than feminine. And if you see in the graph here, there's a spectrum too. So there's all these spectrums, so many gray areas. So I think it's important to talk to our staff about these things. And again, this is totally separate. All of that gender is separate from sexual orientation or attraction as well. So we have to educate our staff on, what are queer people? What are gay people? What are bisexual people? There's also pansexual people, queer people. There's so many vocabulary words. And I think a really huge part too, and as I'm saying these words, I'm 32, and when I was growing up, the word queer, I'm sure this will resonate with many of you, the word queer was actually an insult. It wasn't used in a way to educate people. It was more used as an insult. But now queer is kind of like an umbrella term that just kind of includes everybody in the LGBTQ plus community. So there's just a lot of terms that I think we need to make sure our staff knows is okay and used currently. and then which kind of terms are outdated and what to look for. You can't stop any of these bullying issues or harassment issues if you don't know what to look for. So the Gender Unicorn is kind of like a little friendly way, and actually a really informative way of helping teach our staff about this. And you can go to the next slide. Thank you. And then we were kind of going to go into our staff. Well, okay, now that we kind of have the vocabulary, how are you going to apply this into your classroom? A lot of our teachers were bringing this in February. They're already tired, and it's February. We've been in virtual learning. It's just another thing to add. So we're going to make it really simple for our teachers and for our staff to help tie things into the classroom. Like, for example, if you hear somebody say that's gay or you're gay, what can you do? If a student comes up to you and is coming out to you or feels different about their gender identity, how would you address that? And then if children in your classroom have same-sex parents, all families look different. Some people live with grandma, grandpa. Some people have two moms. Some people live with their uncle. It's just about making sure that all of our students are kind of protected here. So if you hear somebody say, oh, well, it's Father's Day, but I have two moms, or something like that. So just ways to respond, how to interrupt if you see something going on, how to check in with students that are targets of this kind of harassment or bullying, and how to just really make your lessons and your classroom inclusive. Like, boys don't need to play with blue trucks, girls can like trucks too. It's just very simple things to kind of just make it inclusive for kids that might be questioning their gender identity or questioning their sexuality, to kind of just not so much, just to leave the doors open, so that no one feels like they have to be in one little area they can kind of explore. So it's kind of just making showing our staff different ways. And then finally with LMS, because really that's what we're focusing on, because that's what the curriculum and the state mandated curriculum is going for, is LMS, our grades 6th through 8th. That's going to be a little bit more specific. So we're going to kind of I've been taking a lot of time to make sure I have resources for our world language teachers, for our music teachers, for our STEM teachers. I just found out today that there's an LGBTQ plus STEM day where you celebrate famous scientists that have made contributions. So just giving resources to all of our teachers so that they can find ways to either, it's not like they have to Melly Ride, she contributed here and she was a part of the LGBTQ plus community. It's just giving them simple ways, or if they choose an LMS to go a little bit deeper, just different ways to tie this into their curriculum. So just much like where we're being inclusive of other groups, we're just thrown in the LGBTQ plus community as well. So we're going to be looking at that with LMS and going a little further. And then I think this should tie into our next slide about resources that I think Christy's going to kind of go over a little bit.
Yes. So where are my resources? So you can go to the next slide there, Sarah. So yes, Erica, Ms. Hulk has been phenomenal in finding all of these resources that connect to all the different content areas that we teach in the middle school. And the rest of the ICMP committee has also been really working diligently on finding resources that connect with the children that they teach as well. So on that first link there, Sarah, that's the link to the actual curriculum. So if you want to go in and kind of see the document there, you'll see at the beginning, I just have the statute. And Sarah, if you kind of keep scrolling just a little bit. And we also have connected the resources to the social justice standards that we used from the Teaching Tolerance site. And by including some of these lessons within our curriculum, we are really addressing a lot of these social justice standards. And you can see, if you continue all the way down to the bottom, there are a lot of links for various lessons. We are going to be asking our teachers to find lessons that work for them. So these lessons came from various sources pulled together from the ICMP. And our teachers on February 12th will be all finding a lesson connected with the LGBTQ community that works in their classrooms. And you can see some of those links right there at the bottom. Okay. Thanks, Sarah. You can just go to, I think, the final slide. So we just wanted to kind of give you an example we have 3 examples here of some lessons that we're going to do. So we're not just going to include this in just the middle school. There are some topics that we feel like we could begin talking with our students in pre-K through 5th grade. Mrs. Kelleher is here to kind of explain what that lesson will look like. And then Ms. Hope will share with us a lesson that she will do in art. And then Ms. Kortonic will share with us an ELA lesson.
I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second. I'm sorry,
Sure.
Christy. I clicked on the link and it's not giving me access.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So you know
sorry.
what?
I can just talk about it,
Sarah-
Christy, if you'd like.
Well, you know, if she goes back, I actually have it on the curriculum document. So if you go back to that curriculum link on the previous page, I think that whole entire chart is listed on there, Jen, if you want to just.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So our focus really in pre-K, kindergarten, and 1st grade is to really determine, you know, inclusivity. And what we mean by that is we want to make sure that we're representing families and making sure that everyone feels comfortable and included with the way that their family is set up. And one of the conversations that we had and what we found a lot of resources for is that all families look different. And this is talking, you know, about race, gender, national identity. Everyone's family looks different. And we wanted to make sure that everyone's families felt included in pre-K, K first, you know, all the way up to 3rd grade. And the one thing, a funny story that we were telling yesterday when we met was my husband, he's a firefighter in Philadelphia, and he comes into Logan Township every once in a while, does some presentations. I think he was in Miss Wiedemeyer's class, kindergarten class at the time. And he said in his presentation to the kids, you know, go home, you can talk about fire safety with your mom and your dad. And one of our students raised her hand and she said, I have 2 moms. And he felt a little taken aback at first because he just didn't know how to respond appropriately. And that's what we want to make sure with our curriculum is that we are making sure that our teachers know, you know, that this is occurring in Logan Township and that we want to make sure we are ready for any sort of circumstance that we can tackle and make sure that all of our students feel comfortable. So it is relevant in these younger grades. So a lot of the resources we found is about what families look like, how that some families can have 2 moms and some families can have 2 dads, and that everyone feels represented in our collection of literacy in the classroom. So I just wanted to preface that with that. And then the lesson that we wrote out for pre-K to 5th grade is called One Book, One School, and it really discusses gender stereotypes. We base this lesson on the book Except When They Don't. I have a copy of it. We've read it together, and it's a book that really talks about boys like to play this and they like to do this, except when they don't. And that word keeps being brought up, that phrase keeps being brought up, just kind of to talk about that sometimes girls like to do things that are maybe stereotypically not considered girly things. They might want to play with trucks and build, and they might want to play sports. And we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and encouraged in how they feel that they want to express themselves. And sometimes boys might want to play with dolls and do things that may not fall within that gender norm for them. And we want to make sure that everyone in our classroom feels comfortable in their own skin and playing and interacting with each other by being themselves. So that is basically what our objective of this lesson is. We review some vocabulary like stereotype and our identity, how we feel about ourselves. So that is really the outline for the lesson that we have prepared for that pre-K to 3rd grade levels, to 5th grade. I apologize.
Does it slide down further, the lesson plan?
It does.
Okay, keep on going.
And there's actually a link to the book if you wanted to listen to a YouTube recording of it.
So I'm seeing right now where that's highlighted in yellow. That's
Yes.
the link to the book, except where you don't.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. Great.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Kelleher. Okay, Erica, did you want to do the art?
Yeah, I'll give like a little overview.
Overview?
Yeah, so this is something that I've already been doing. I now teach middle school. as well, which I've been really enjoying. I know some of the parents might have already seen me on the meets, but I'm really enjoying being with LMS. And I love seeing the kids get older and seeing them as I grow up. So I've already kind of done this lesson once, and I'm going to do it in these rotations that I'm in now as well. The learning goal pretty much is to survey a variety of art through different eras, different styles, different artists, different cultures. It's to really just give them a ton of different kinds of art and to have them try to find one that resonates with them. So what I did in this lesson is I brought in artists. I brought in Black artists. I brought in artists from India. I brought in artists from Asia. I brought in all these different kinds. I brought in Chuck Close, who's an artist that when he was in his 40s, his spinal artery collapsed and he ended up being paralyzed from the waist down and technically from the neck down. And he regained some use of his arm. So he's in a wheelchair and he still paints. He also had learning disabilities like dyslexia, and his teachers told him not to continue in his education. So I bring all of these different artists so that it just hits on every different topic. And then what I did, I just threw in LGBTQ plus artists and gave them as an example. I have Keith Haring, who was huge as a social activist, mostly in New York. His artwork's still in New York right now. But kind of, and it's not so much going into and giving these huge stories about each artist, but it's kind of just giving the kids different kinds of artists and being like, oh, he was a part of the LGBTQ plus community, and he was huge in helping bring awareness to the community. Just things like that. So the lesson is pretty much them looking through all the different artists, finding one that resonates with them, and then recreating that artist's artwork somehow. I've had kids, like one of my kids dressed up like Frida Kahlo and took a picture of her with dolls instead of parrots in her picture. So just like all different ways to just recreate an artwork. But it's just kind of, again, just including LGBTQ plus folks.
And Erica, when we post this where it says Google Slides presentation, that would give us a view of some of the things that you share with the students.
The Google Slides presentation has all the artists, and then I also threw in their examples of what the kids have done because they've really taken a great toll on it. It's great.
Great. Thank you.
And we have one more to share from you from Miss Cortonic in middle school ELA, talking about Romeo and Juliet.
Every kid's favorite, right? So an example of a lesson that students could do in 8th grade ELA would be to do a short research project after reading Romeo and Juliet. And the goal of this lesson is really to have students making connections between the play and contemporary and historical ideas and events. So really kind of bringing the text into the real world, which is helpful in a lot of ways. You know, obviously it sort of combats that, you know, age-old, why do we have to read Shakespeare question? But it also can really make the text seem more relevant and helps give students an opportunity to practice some research skills and making connections and things like that, while pulling in examples of individuals who throughout history and even today have fought against societal standards for the right to love and to marry freely, just like Romeo and Juliet did. So during this lesson, you would kind of open up with, or the teacher would open up with a discussion of why students think we still read this over 400 years later. We would then, if you could just scroll down a little bit, please, Sarah. There's thanks. So you would then get into a research project where students would be presented with 3 sources that are actually linked down at the bottom, so anyone can explore those. And those sources are about different couples who have, like Romeo and Juliet, sort of fought back against their societies for their right to marry. So one of them is the loving couple from Virginia who were sort of pioneers in interracial marriage. Then there is an article about the same-sex marriage ruling of, I believe, 2015, if I'm getting that correct. And it goes into detail about some of the people that really sort of fueled the fight to get that passed. And then the last one is actually about a couple in Afghanistan who are sort of known as a modern day Romeo and Juliet because they belong to opposing religious sects and therefore were not allowed to marry or be together and actually left so they could have a family. So students would, in this lesson, choose one of those 3 examples and then do a little research. There's a graphic organizer there where they would summarize the sources or the source that they chose and then make specific connections between that source and things that happened and quotes and characters and things in Romeo and Juliet. So you'd wrap up with a discussion and talk about some of the things they found and some of the things that resonated with them, and share those connections out with the class, and then wrap everything up with a writing reflection where students would respond to a writing prompt, choosing one of a couple of questions that all sort of reflect on these ideas of, why the story is still relevant, and what really stood out to them as they were doing their research. So this would be a good way to, really accomplish a couple of different things, while bringing to light the issue of marriage equality as well, and sort of allowing for that really positive LGBTQ representation that we know matters so much. So I think that is it for ELA.
So that's the end of our presentation. We're always willing to answer any questions, but I think you can tell from the presentation that we have a passionate group of teaching staff here who are willing to implement this, even though, it is a mandate, it is something that we have to do. But I feel good about the fact that we've been doing this equity work for so long. It just is, it's the right time for us in our district to include members of the LGBTQ community within our curriculum. So we feel good about this work and are looking forward to sharing it with students.
So before any board member responds or asks questions, I just want to thank the ICMP committee under the leadership of Christy, as you always do. You do a thorough job. You don't rush through it. And your strength is in your committee members, leading your committee members. And it was obvious tonight that they're proud of what they're doing. They believe in what they're doing. And that's going to come across in the classroom and when we're trying to turnkey and teach our other staff members to feel as comfortable with this. What resonated with me tonight is that goal that you shared, Christy, from GLSEN, I believe it was, that our goal about all of this is that to recognize that differences are valued to create a more vibrant and diverse community. That's our goal for this district. And I think it just seems very natural to bring the LGBTQ community contributions as we brought in all other races, social and economic groups, disability groups, so that we're trying to celebrate that diverse communities are strong. So thank you. Board members, comments?
No,
Pat?
oh, sorry.
Just quickly, I just wanted to say, as usual, I am really, really impressed with what Christy and the curriculum committee have done here. And I'm just really thankful that we're a district that really can say on every level, we are into inclusion and equity and diversion. And this is it's just a beautiful thing. And what our kids are getting and how we're educating them, the very young to the oldest that we have, that they have an opportunity to be thinking and with an open mind about cultures and people and those kinds of things, and they're going to be better for it. So I appreciate your work. I really do. That's me. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. Very comprehensive plan. You guys did a lot of the groundwork, and it's obvious you're invested in this. But what I like too is that you have comprised a lot of resources for teachers. So I'm envisioning when they receive it in February for their in-service. I know that they're taxed with so many different things right now, and while we all have our heart in the right place, sometimes it's hard to logistically plan for things. So thanks for doing that groundwork and giving them that gift of really, a comprehensive list of resources and opportunities to reach kids in different ways. Things that are like flexible, but yet, real succinct with the goal, which is to be, comprehensive and including everyone. So well done.
Thanks, Kelly. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anyone else?
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much once again. We really appreciate it. So
Thank you, everyone.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
that was Kristen. Okay, so now we're going to move into with our business office. And Sarah, you're going to do that now?
Yes, I can go over that.
Okay,
Everything, thanks, Carolyn. All the business office items on the work session were covered in detail in the board members' weekend memo from Mrs. Haney.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any other additional questions? Okay, I guess that means there's no questions.
Okay.
Um,
So I'll move on to personnel. So before we leave the business section, I just want to publicly thank Christy Jansen. That last bullet there under submit the addressing student learning loss grant application. I always like to thank the people who spend a lot of time. She spent a lot of time the past 2 weeks really working on the grant application. It's a very competitive grant. There are only 16 grants in the state of New Jersey. I know a lot of my friends' schools, districts are applying for it too. A lot of school districts from the north and the central section. So just the fact that there's only 16, there's a slim chance, but Mrs. Green and I always talk about it was a slim chance when we applied for the pre-K grant, and we never thought that that would be the beginning of expanding our pre-K into 9 different grade classrooms. So we're hoping that we're as successful this way. But Christy, thank you so much for that. Okay, moving on to personnel. I would just ask the same thing that Sarah did. Everything I believe has been addressed in my communication to you on retirement, stipends, additional staff due to COVID, and restructuring of the secretarial office positions. I would just draw your attention on the regular session agenda that I believe since the weekend or very late in the weekend, there was one more resignation. So we have 2 retirees and 1 resignation effective the end of June. So they're all listed. Any questions on any of the personnel items?
Nope.
No.
Okay, moving on. The school calendar is posted for it says the 2021 school year. I just caught that. This is so hard to think that it's for the 21-22 school year. And we're catching ourselves all the time. I just can't believe we're talking about the 21-22 school year. So that is posted, and we're asking you to approve it tonight. Professional learning opportunities has also been posted. So I believe that's it. Is there anything else, Sarah? That's it. Is that the bottom?
That's the bottom.
Any questions on the work session? Anything that we're going to be voting on in the regular session for more detail? Okay, Carolyn, it's up to you to say if you want to call like a 10 or 12-minute recess, maybe a 10-minute recess. We'd ask everybody to go ahead.
Well, yeah, because we have time. So we'll do what we did before. Just put it on hold or pause, whatever. And then we'll come back at 8 o'clock. How's that?
Good. Rob, we should put our cameras and our mics off, right? Is that what we should do?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just don't leave the meet.
Don't leave the meet. Just turn those off. Okay.
Everybody take a stretch, take a water break, and we'll be back.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you at 8. Pat, you're back in?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
8 o'clock, right?
Yep, it is.
Rob, we're good to go?
I can see the agenda on the YouTube stream.
Sorry, I couldn't get the thing to get off mute. I'm here.
We're good to go, Rob?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, Carolyn, you're on.
Okay, I'm ready. All right, this is our call to order. Adequate notice having been provided by the posting of notices with the Township Clerk, South Jersey Times, and all board members having been notified. A regular meeting is being held virtually due to COVID-19. I'm just putting one part. Since this is a remote board meeting, the board president has decided to have only one public participation to pose any question, whether listed on the agenda or not. And with that, we'll have our call.
Mrs. Kegler,
Here.
Mrs. Hill, Dr. Bowen,
Here.
Mrs. Lombardo,
Here.
Mrs. Mason,
Here.
Mrs. Reed,
Here.
Mrs. Roan,
Here.
Mr. Russell.
Here.
Just checking back to see if Mrs. Hill is on.
I'm here. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm here.
thanks.
I got kicked out somehow.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Now, the minutes of the meeting, I believe we need a motion to accept them as they are without, unless someone has objections or it needs corrections. Can we have a motion to accept them as they are?
Motion.
This is from our work session the work session and the regular sessions from December 16th meeting.
I make a motion.
Okay, motion to accept, second?
I can read a second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any presentations? Well, we've had ours already. Is there anything else, Pat?
Pat, you're muted.
Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, okay.
This is one of my favorite nights of the year when we recognize a teacher, an educator from each of our 3 schools who really represents the quality of instruction that is going on across the school. And that's how I look at it, that they are each one of these 3 staff members that have been chosen by their colleagues are shining examples of the quality of dedication that we have across the district. So we'll start with, it looks like Allison's picture is first. So I think we should go with Allison and have Catherine Kelly. I believe both Catherine and Laura are going to be speaking about Allison tonight. Catherine?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hi, Allison.
Hi, everyone.
So good to see everyone and glad you could be here tonight. Well, I'm going to start out because it gives me great pleasure to recognize Mrs. Allison Masterson as Logan Elementary's Educator of the Year. Allison came to Logan Township as a long-term substitute teacher for a 7th grade special education class in the spring of 2000. She was then hired as a full-time special education teacher in September 2000. Over these last 21 years, Allison has taught in all 3 of Logan's schools and is currently a 3rd grade inclusion teacher. We attended a workshop this afternoon on student-centered learning, and when I was thinking about Allison, this is the first thing that came to my mind as something that describes her as a teacher. All she does in and out of the classroom is focus on the student, helping him or her grow as a learner and a human. making sure they feel good about themselves and that they are excited and happy to come to school each day. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Flynn, our Supervisor of Special Services, who is going to elaborate a little further on some of the attributes that describe Allison as a teacher.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Good. Hi. Yeah, I'm just Allison. As Catherine said too, I'm thrilled that you have been chosen to be LES's Educator of the Year. Allison and I have worked together for many years. Over the years, Allison has taught numerous students with a wide range of abilities, from those with mild learning needs to students with significant learning and behavioral difficulties, working in the kindergarten classroom all the way through middle school grades. And so, as a result of her years of experience as a special education teacher, Allison has definitely grown in her knowledge and expertise when it comes to the very specific and individual needs of students with learning disabilities. Allison is especially intuitive when it comes to designing instruction for her students, strategies that have been proven successful. Allison not only has skills when it comes to teaching, but she also exudes empathy for all students, and especially those who learn differently. Her compassion is real, and students know that they can trust her to be firm but fair. I've had many parents express their gratitude for Mrs. Masterson and the time that she always takes to not only know and understand her students, but her ability to develop trusting relationships, authentic relationships with parents. Allison doesn't believe in keeping all of her knowledge to herself and will often share ideas and strategies with her co-teachers and colleagues. Teachers rely on her when it comes to better understanding behavior plans, learning differences, IEP modifications, and more. She's a true expert in her field. And Allison, I just want to say congratulations on this well-deserved acknowledgement. And then I'm going to hand it back over to Catherine because we have more to add.
Yes, we do. We have more to add. And you have to know that Allison is not one that likes to be in the limelight. So I
am dying, by the way.
But I also want to share that the dedication Allison has for her students extends beyond her classroom walls, as she has been an active participant in many school and district initiatives. Her professionalism and service to our schools and educational community is commendable. In recent years, while at Logan Elementary School, Allison has served as a mentor to new teachers and shares her expertise with the teachers and instructional aides she works with. One of Allison's colleagues shared, "On more than one occasion, I've reached out to Allison regarding an especially challenging student, and she not only provides suggestions on how to support the student and address certain issues, but then checks back in and offers a listening ear. I have personally grown as an educator, specifically in the area of behavior analysis and management, because I have worked with Allison." I don't know about you, but I believe that speaks volumes and is a wonderful testament to Allison and her teaching. Allison has volunteered at home and school league events and supported her colleagues and students by volunteering at the art show. Each year, she runs a station at our family literacy and math night. And a few years ago, she came to me with an idea to increase awareness of students with disabilities during Autism Awareness Month in April. And through that idea, activities were incorporated in our classrooms and a culminating Bubbles for Autism event was held. And that was all to her coming to me and saying, "Hey, we need to do this." Allison was a member of the district's original PBS committee and recently served as a valued member of our school climate team. She also attends CPAC committee meetings as another way to support her students and her families. As you can tell, we are very fortunate to have Allison as a member of the Logan Township family. She is truly deserving of this recognition, and I am so proud to work alongside her each day. Congratulations, Allison, for being LES's Educator of the Year.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If I may, I have written down something. It's pretty brief. It's okay if I reply to.
Yes, please do. Sure.
Well, thank you, Laura and Catherine, so much. I was so honored to be nominated and to receive Teacher of the Year this year for LES. To say I was surprised would be an understatement. As many of you know, I have been a special education teacher in Logan Township for 21 years, my entire career. Along the way, I have been and am presently so very fortunate to work with so many truly talented, caring, and devoted professionals. The list is extensive. You all know who you are. Thank you to all of them for making me the teacher I am today. I could not have done it without any of you. I would like to thank my administrators for their support and for lending me their ear while I spew ideas and sometimes rants. Thank you, Laura and Catherine. Thank you to Pat Haney and the Logan Township Board of Education for their support as well throughout all of my years. Finally, I would like to thank all of my students, past and present, and their families. For more than they know, they have taught me the meaning of teaching, guiding, and perseverance. I started my career teaching middle school students at LMS. I then moved to CSS, where I taught kindergarten and first grade students with special needs in the K-1 multi-age classroom. Finally, I've landed in third grade. For the past 7 years, I have had the opportunity to work with amazing co-teachers and paraprofessionals. I continue to learn and grow as a teacher and a person because of you. Thank you, Katie, Jolynn, Michelle, Colleen, Lee, and the rest of my third grade team. I have devoted my career to teaching students in Logan Township. I honestly have to say I wouldn't have changed one thing. Every part of my career so far, good and challenging, has helped to mold me into the mom, wife, daughter, educator, and friend that you see today. Thank you again for this honor, and thank you to all of my coworkers. The role of an educator is fulfilling yet challenging, especially during the past year. Your admiration means the world to me. You all inspire me day in and day out. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. Is your family there with you?
Sean's here with me. Jackson's upstairs.
Okay.
Studying.
He's studying.
It's nice to see you, Sean. It's
Hi,
always
Pat. How are
nice
you?
to have family members here. So it's good to see you and to have you participate and hear all the good things that we say about Allison. Allison, I have 3 words for you. When I think of you, I think of 3 words: a true child advocate. You really, really espouse advocacy for all children in everything you do. So we are very proud that you are LES Educator of the Year. Congratulations.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you, everyone.
You guys got to turn your cameras off.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person on the picture is Emily Smith. And so if we can have Mrs. Green come forward and speak about Emily.
Okay, Emily, this is the part that I really am missing with this pandemic. Normally, I would have you come up to the podium and give you a hug and all those types of things. So I'm giving you a virtual hug at this time. It is with great excitement and pride that I introduce Emily Smith as the Teacher of the Year for Center Square School. One word comes to mind when I think of Emily: faithful. Emily's faith is very strong and resonates in the classroom and throughout the school with her kindness, compassion, joy, and a caring attitude. Emily works diligently to support the diverse needs of all of her students. She has an excellent rapport with her students, parents, and her colleagues. When I think of Emily, I'm reminded of the year when she was hired Emily was hired 1 week before our kindergarten orientation began, and she worked so diligently to get her classroom ready for this orientation, which took place that last week in August. I still remember that day when Emily worked so hard and worked many days, worked so hard to get her classroom ready. She started from scratch to create a welcoming environment for students. You would not have known upon entering her classroom that she had a week to set up her classroom. There was no difference between her classroom and her colleagues. Emily is a hard worker and continuously works to ensure that students reach their individual potential. And that's what's key about Emily. She works to support the individual needs of all of her students. She truly treats each student like they are her very own. Emily has been a member of our SKIP team, was involved in planning our health night, even recruiting her brother, who is a pharmacist, to help us out. Emily has provided professional development to new staff members for a number of years to help them understand the key components of what we do here in Logan Township School District. We are so fortunate to have such a dedicated teacher who is patient, empathetic, fun-loving, and student-focused. Emily is truly an amazing person, and we are so blessed to have her as a teacher in Logan Township School District. Please join me in congratulating Emily Smith as a Teacher of the Year for Center Square School. Congratulations, Emily.
Yay. Congratulations, Emily.
Thank you.
Emily, do you want to say something?
Yes, I really am honored. I appreciate all of you. Bev, thank you so much for just leading us, and thank you, administration. I get emotional, so just really happy to be part of this this district. Like Allison said, I think everyone. There's so many people, past and present, who helps me. So since my first day there at Logan, it's just been a gift to be part of such a family and to know that I have the best. I work with the best people, and they all care, and we all have the same goal, and just means a lot. The people who have come and gone that I worked with, even worked with Allison way my first year there. So even just being part of that and being able to be impacted by so many people. So you guys molded me and helped me grow, and that's all. Just happy to be part of this, and thank you so much, and appreciate all of you. Thank you. I do have
Yay, Emily.
my mom and dad and Jeff and Jamie.
Oh, let us see. Let them come in.
Me up because I need to put her to bed. Too much, so I kept her up.
So nice to have your family members here. It's so nice when that happens because everybody shares in the joy. Emily, I just want to reiterate what Bev said. The memory I have of you is a very recent memory, and is when we came back to school in October, when we brought back the pre-K and K students, and we were out in the hallway. It was Jake and Christy Jansen and I, and we were worried about, was the technology going to be working, not working with everybody live streaming. We didn't know if we could carry on that load. And I watched you from the hallway. You were masterful right from the very beginning. You handled transitioning between the remote students and the students in person as if you had been doing that for many more years than you had. So that just continued and built on the pride that I already had for you. And I just want to say it's a great choice that we have for the Center Square Educator of the Year. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And then last but not least, Angelica's picture is there. So we're going to go to Angelica, and we're going to ask Heather to speak.
Well, as Bev said, it is the one thing this year that's really hurt my heart more than anything, is to not be there with you guys tonight. I wish that we could have done this in person. I think the beauty of being in a school for 9 years is that we've truly grown together to be a family at LMS. And while so many times I've been in front of the board to honor the Educator of the Year, and I'm always proud, this year is certainly special to me because it's the first time that the honoree has been not only somebody that I hired, but someone who started at Logan. Hired Angelica as a very first year teacher in 2014. And there's something incredibly special about having the opportunity to watch her grow into the amazing teacher that she is. I think back to when she started in an ELA department full of ridiculously strong personalities, all wanting to do the same thing. And she was itching to get her ideas out there and find her voice as that first and second year teacher. And I go to ELA meetings today, and she's a leader among many of those same people. Her voice is loud and strong, and she carries those convictions with her. And her students are so lucky for that. She is one of the people that you can always count on to volunteer. I think back to when we were making our mission statement and what an integral part of that process she was. She used her ELA background to wordsmith every word and make the decisions that were best for our school district, and really setting the direction that brings us to the things that we did earlier this evening with the LGBTQ community. We would have never taken on things like that if we didn't have such a solid mission statement to ground everything that we do. From there, she has blossomed into an incredible member of our school climate team, a district committee in which she represents LMS so well. She has taken on so many roles on that committee, from meeting with groups of students to get their input, to meeting with parents to get their input, and then to put it all together in a package that our teachers can really understand and relate to. She has become a true leader there as well. She has started Student Voice in Logan Township. She, and along with her partner in crime, Michelle McDonald, have done an amazing job and brought a group of students from an idea about scheduling to truly a polished presentation that they shared with Mrs. Haney and I that we will certainly go back and revisit when we're able to do that. She's also heads our student council, and most recently had a drive for supplies for our frontline workers in hospitals. I hope that in all of those things that I just listed, you realize that student was in the front of all of them. Student voice, student council, the working with students in the school climate team. That really encapsulates the leadership that Angelica Magazoo has developed over her 7 years in Logan Township. Her classroom environment puts students first. Her work ethic puts students first, and any student that's in her classroom is lucky to be there. She is somebody that always wants to improve. I will embarrass her a little. We were in a parent meeting today, and she stumbled over maybe 2 words and sent me a text message right away saying, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to mess it up." And she hadn't messed anything up at all. But that illustrates in that simple story how much she exemplifies professionalism and how she cares about every single student in her charge. It is with immense pride that I have watched Angelica Magazoo from a first-year teacher to the incredible professional she is today that I present Angelica Magazoo as the Logan Middle School 2021 Teacher of the Year. Congratulations, my friend.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have Jim here.
Congratulations.
Angelica, that's what you want to say, right?
Yes.
Okay, Angelica, do you want to say something?
Yeah, really quickly, I just want to thank you, Mrs. Moran. Thank you, Mrs. Haney. I can truly say that getting hired 7 years ago at Logan Township was the proudest moment of my life, I think. Mrs. Green, even, I was interviewing with her at first, so I think she would even agree with that. I just want to thank you all so much. I feel so proud and honored to work at a district at Logan. I know I always say that, and to receive Teacher of the Year. Not only do I feel supported, but appreciated by admin, my colleagues, and all of the families at Logan. And even though it's been a really challenging year for everyone, I feel like Logan Township just keeps getting better, and every year here keeps getting better for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Angelica.
Thanks, Angelica.
Thank you.
Just summarizing just one phrase, Angelica, from all the committees that I've served on with you, Mrs. Moran referenced the Mission Committee, the Vision Committee, and now presently the School Climate Team. I just know that when Angelica speaks, people listen. And I bet that the same thing happens in your classroom. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations.
Carolyn, do you want to say something as board president?
Well, no, just that I know that I speak for the board when I say we really appreciate these people with this expertise that they're so willingly giving to our students. And we're a better school district board. Our kids are learning and we're doing what we're supposed to do. And that is making sure that every student achieves. We appreciate your work. I really do as an educator. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So before you leave, we have usually we present each one of you with a check individually, but this is the joint gift instead of making 3 virtual checks. So we put each of the $500 together into a check for $1,500. You can fight over who gets what, or you can divide it evenly. But this is the gift that you will be getting from the Board of Education, and you can spend it on anything that has to do with your classroom. So you can start and use that money this year for your virtual classroom or your in-person classroom. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. Thank you, the family members, for coming tonight. We wish it could have been in person, but we want to stay safe and healthy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, Pat?
Yes, just want to reference the fact that the fire drills and the security drills are following the DOE guidelines. We're continuing to follow the guidelines on being socially distant and doing a walkthrough independent of the alarm sound. So that was the fire drill, and the security drill is listed there as a bus evacuation via a training video. We're very fortunate that and I don't use a lot of times say fortunate when I reference the DOE from the state DOE, but there's a department of the DOE that each month is giving us a webinar on a safe way so that we're meeting statute and still doing fire drills and security drills, but also keeping in mind being socially distant. So I know that today we just conducted a practice bomb threat with our secretaries, and that will meet the stipulation for the month of January. This is for the month of December. So it's just we continue to move ahead in a virtual environment that we never thought we'd have to, but we're still practicing and making sure that our students are safe, whether it's in case of a fire drill or in case of a security drill. The enrollment is here listed as it is always. We checked to make sure we were accurate with those numbers. So that gives you a good view of the number of students that we are in charge of, both educationally and financially. And then we're proud to say that we had no suspensions in the month of December.
I wonder why.
Yes. Okay, Carolyn, all yours.
Okay, so we just are going to D, the finance report, and the committee met yesterday. I can say that it was approved by the committee, and so we can move on unless someone has a question.
There are no, I'm sorry, are you regarding public participation, Carolyn, or are you asking the board members?
Oh, no. This is just with D. So I'm just going now to board discussion. I haven't gotten to 8 yet. Okay, fair?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, is there any board discussion? Are there any questions? Okay, so now we'll go to public participation. And this is solely to the agenda items. This is a time for the public to ask questions on any items listed on the agenda or not. This assures the public an opportunity to have input prior to action being taken. Now, Sarah, are there any questions?
There are none in the queue.
No questions in the queue. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to our financial support reports. And okay, so we have it for December. For December, all of those reports are fine. Any questions about those? All right, then on to our action items. These are all of the motions that you've seen already. Is there anybody who has a question or comment about any of the motions before we take our, all right, then I'll need a motion to accept all of the motions A through K and the added agenda motions L and M. We have a motion to accept them.
Kim Reed, I move that we accept.
And second, please.
Second.
Okay, Brian. Okay, thank you. So they've been moved and seconded, and those motions will stand. Now I'm moving on. I'm just scrolling down. Okay, so I'm moving to the representatives, and I'm going to start with the
Carolyn, I think
Are we having a roll call?
Who's that? Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's it. I knew that I was missing something. Thank you. This is actually the motions, the approval of the motions. Can we have a roll call, please? Thanks.
Mrs. Kegler?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Dr. Bowen?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Roan?
Yes.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to the representatives. For the Gloucester County School Board Association, I just wanted to make you aware of the fact that John Russell is now the Vice President for Legislation with that board.
Congrats.
And then
Congratulations, John.
we'll give him a thank you for that. And I will just let you know that I'm the president of that board at this point as well. So Logan Township is well represented in the county.
Congratulations, Carolyn.
Well, thank you, Kristen. Well, you and I have a history with the county. That's the first meeting I attended with you outside of our board meeting. Remember? Okay, so you can appreciate it.
Yes, I can.
The New Jersey School Board Association, I don't have anything to report except
Carolyn?
that, yes.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Before you move on I don't know if you were going to talk about the joint meeting that was just held.
No, I wasn't. For the county, New Jersey, the County School Board Association?
Yes.
No. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that the county school board had a meeting, I believe it was last Thursday. It was a very informative meeting. There was a lot of things that were covered. There were a lot of, from what they were saying, new school board members who were in attendance. So they talked about what the responsibilities are of a new school board member and different resources that the New Jersey School Board can offer. They had Terry Lewis and I forget the other gentleman's name, but two field representatives who were talking about different things, especially the board certifications. But what I thought was most helpful was the government affairs representative who talked about the new administration and some of the laws and different things that could impact school districts, and then also talking about the nominee for the new Secretary of Education and how he has a glowing recommendation from those that he has worked with in the past. And so that seems very favorable because he's a past teacher and educator and truly understands the plights of schools and school districts.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
No problem.
Okay, so now, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Kim? Usually that information is in the New Jersey, the information you get every day. So, and then we have one person who's virtually new to it. So Alexis, that's probably good information for her. The New Jersey School Board Association, John, I'm just announcing, I did ask him, and that he will be our delegate assembly representative. And as I always do, just encouraging members of the board, I know you all work and you have lots to do, but some of these committees are really good to get on, as I often say, just so you get a sense of what the New Jersey School Board Association is all about, and you as members, how you benefit. Okay, any questions there? John, you have any comments?
No, Carolyn, I appreciate stepping in your shoes. There's always big shoes to fill right behind you.
Oh, stop.
Sure are.
Stop. Okay, let's go to Home and School League. And Alexis, what do you have for us? Any information?
Just a reminder to everybody that the book fair is now live and it'll be going until February 7th, and families can share the link with their friends or family. And then also that you can still participate in the membership drive. So there was an email sent out so people can refer to that if they're interested in still doing the membership drive.
Okay. So the book fair is until or through February 7th?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's links for each of the 3 schools.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Alexis? Okay, then we'll move on to Kingsway and Kristen. What do you have for us? Kristen?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on mute.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I realize, as Frank used to always say, that I'm always going to be one day behind. Unfortunately, Kingsway's board meetings take place the day after our board meetings. However, they do have their work sessions the week before. So I kind of hear about what's going to be voted on, even though we don't know yet what the outcome's going to be. So last week we had 2 presentations that are for new programs in the high school. They presented a student engagement protocol that they're using. They're really struggling with their students and online engagement, as I know we have a lot of educators online that are aware that that's, definitely an issue right now in education. So back in November, they had 36% of middle school students and 40% of high school students failing at least one class. And they implemented the student engagement program. It's a 4-tier program that they're using that involves a lot of staff at the school. It's very complex, but they measured it again in January, and now they have 28% middle school and 32% high school. So they're seeing a -8% in both the middle school and high school. So they're hoping that that student engagement program is working. It's definitely a struggle in education right now with the online learning. The second presentation they did that I want to highlight is they are piloting a blended learning pilot for 2021, 2022 next year. So it's a blended learning and virtual learning. So they're taking 6 of their classes. Some are AP, some are honors classes, and then one is just a regular CP English 4 class. And they're going to be offering it in the blended and virtual setting. So they're hoping to expand it, but they're going to start with this next year and see, where it grows to, if they have enough people that are interested in it. So they are going to start after tomorrow's approval. They're going to start pushing it out to obviously staff first, and then students and parents. They're trying to take a lot of those high profile classes that they don't always have enough seats in, such as like a AP psychology class or some of those real high interest classes, and offer them in this type of fashion so that they can get more kids in there. So those are the 2 presentations that they presented last week. Those are kind of the 2 hot topics that they have going on right now. So then I guess next month I will be able to tell you the outcome of their actual meeting, which takes place tomorrow. And anyone can join if they'd like via the link on the website.
Okay, thank you. But I have a question to Christy. Do they think the lack of student engagement is mostly because of the technology? Or
No.
what do they think?
So all of the kids have technology. They're actually, they've provided the one-to-one for all of the high school. And they're at the point now where they're pushing it out to their middle school for everyone to have one, even if they have one at home. They're finding that there's a lot of high schoolers who are stuck babysitting their younger siblings, or doing tasks that need to be done. But I know that even in my setting, which is elementary, we're having a really tough time with student engagement, whether it's chores, babysitting, the parents taking them on errands and they're just not taking education seriously because the kids aren't there. So they think, oh, well, they can learn anywhere. Like, we can go anywhere, we can do anything. And also some parents are back to work and their kids are home, and they're assuming they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not. Unfortunately, I have to say, I'm not alarmed at 40% of high school students are failing at least one class. And that's based off of looking at the data that I look at my school, which is only 3rd to 6th grade. So I'm not sure what the numbers are at Logan, but I do think they have a very comprehensive 4-tier program where they have a lot of staff involved. They're doing home visits if need be. Again, a lot of that is in the high school setting more so than with the younger kids, but it seems like it definitely is making a difference. And then also, bringing back kids all 4 days that are, failing multiple classes and having major attendance issues. I guess that they have the ability, I guess they have so many people that are remote that they're able to do that. I'm not sure about Logan, but I know in my district, like, we couldn't let people come back 4 days. We just can't follow the CDC guidelines and have more kids back unless they change those guidelines. But it depends on how many remote kids you have in a classroom. Our classrooms are pretty full. But they are finding a lot of success with the kids that are coming back, and it's on a case-by-case basis. And then the idea is that once they get caught up and back on track, that they could move back, to the remote. But that hasn't happened yet because they're kind of just getting into this. But it's a good program that they have in place.
Okay, so they're doing what they can do about it. I don't know. I just thought with the older kids that they might have a better chance of handling this situation. Anybody else have questions for Kristen? Okay, for new business, is there any new business?
Carolyn, this is Pat, and I have to make you aware that there were 2 questions posed by a parent after we had the public participation. Those questions were emailed me also. Would you like me to answer those questions publicly, because she has alerted me to the fact that they were not picked up fast enough? Do you mind if I address them?
Would you?
Yes.
Yeah, Kat, thank
I'm
you.
going to paraphrase the first question. First question had to do with the motion that has already been approved about the 3 students that we are paying tuition for to go to East Greenwich. And why the question was why that is occurring. And I would state that it is a special circumstance that we must follow and that the board is aware of that circumstance. The second question from Mrs. Freehoff was, are we still evaluating COVID data on an every 2-week basis? And my response to that would be that weekly, I share with the board the COVID data, not only for the county, for the township, the county, but also for the state. And in that sharing, we analyze and look at and determine whether or not we believe it warrants us going remote. Presently, we feel like we are being successful. We've been back now. The end of this week, it'll be 2 full weeks, and we are hoping that we do not go back and forth and that we stay in this hybrid model that we are in. So those are my answers to the 2 questions that were posed that were not picked up.
Okay. Thanks, Pat.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm glad we were able to get those in before we actually adjourned. Okay, going to new business. I think this is the time when I can ask if I need 3 people to volunteer for an ad hoc committee. Has to do with the naming of the building. Most of you are aware of what we're trying to do there. I was running, so that's why I sound like this. Okay, so if you can let me know at any time, but I just need 3 people. We just want to do some looking into what it takes to do this.
Carol, this is Lene. I'll volunteer.
Okay, there's Kristen.
And this is Alexis. I'll volunteer also.
Alexis, thank you.
This is Kelly. I'll volunteer.
Wonderful, and here we are. Okay.
But the first one was Lene, not Kristen.
Oh, okay, that was
I
okay.
raised my hand. I'm sorry, but if you already have 3 people, that's fine, Carolyn. I just raised my hand in the meet.
Okay, so we'll have Lene, you answered first. I'm sorry I missed it. So we have Lene, we have Alexis, and we have Kelly. Correct? Thank you, ladies, and I'll be in touch with you. Okay, so now we're old business. There's none. The bills, we've already done the bills list for January. That's been approved. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right, Sarah? Yes. Okay. All right. Public participation, we've had that already. And I have to say that we do need to have an executive session. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
That was John.
Second, Kristen.
John, okay, and second. Oh, Kristen is second. Okay. Now, well, are we disconnected from other people at this point?
Rob, how do we usually do? Have we done it with executive session that we? First of all, we're going into executive session. We have to do a motion to go into it, right?
We did that, yeah.
Okay, and then there will be no action taken. So we should be letting people know that there will be no action taken.
Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead.
That's all.
So yeah, last time you just ended here for everybody. Then you guys went into your own executive session. That was the end of the stream.
Okay. So at this point, then Rob, we're okay to. Okay. I see other people are leaving. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to end the stream. So anybody that's watching, that'll be the end of this. And then you guys can go into your executive session. It should be in a separate Google Meet, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Just as we are, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and that was not sent, so I'll do that right now. Carolyn, right? Rob, I should send Google Meet to everyone. Give me 5 minutes to get that Google Meet sent out to all board members so we can go into executive session.
And I'm not ending this until you do your motion, right?
We did it.
Well, we did the motion.
Okay, sorry, my mistake.
That's okay.
Okay. We're
So
good.
now we're good. Are we ready for executive session now?
We're going to move to another Google Meet, I think, Carolyn. Pat's going to send out another Google Meet, and we're going to go into a separate meet for executive. She's sending it out.
Okay.
So we're going to
All
get
right.
off here.
We're going to go.
Give me 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
Okay.